Good morning, everyone. My name is Terysa Ridgeway, and I'm a technical program manager at Google, as well as the children's book author of Think Like a Computer. Today, I'll be sharing with you a little bit about the story behind my story and everything in between, as told by my favorite musical artist, Beyonce. One of the first things that I learned at a very early age was stepping into my superpower. At the time, if my mother was up here and speaking with you, she would let you know that dada was probably my second word. My first word, of course, would have been why. Why? I wanted to know why about everything. I enjoyed learning at a very early age, which, as you could imagine, was a very, very interesting childhood, especially for a patient mother. So as a kid, I stepped into that superpower and understanding, why things work the way that they do. And one of the very first lessons that I can remember is receiving a computer for the first time. And literally, my mother just dropped it on the kitchen counter and let me figure it out. She was like, I got it from my classroom. Here, have at it. So I did everything from plugging it up to turning it on. And with that lesson, I learned, I started questioning why. If I press the letter K on the keyboard, how does the computer know to display it on the screen? So with that, it just kind of triggered all these different thoughts and turned me into the problem solver I am today. But one of the other very important lessons that I learned was also resilience and perseverance. And those things fit me well for the remainder of my life. The next chapter, I would kind of skip a little bit into the COVID pandemic, as much of the speakers here have done, because I feel that it was a very life-changing part for all of us. So as the world was starting to shut down for the COVID pandemic, I had shut down maybe a few months prior due to the passing of both my mother, my brother-in-law, and my sister. And with having the immense grief of dealing with all of those deaths back to back, it actually gave me time to retrospectively look while everything was quiet and figure out what I wanted to do with my life going forward. But even with those deaths, I didn't let it break my soul. Instead, I chose to let those lessons and the big shoes that they left to be filled to inspire my journey and what I would like my legacy to be. So I'd like to share with you a little bit about my children's book that came about during the pandemic and during the time that I was, in my immense grief. I decided to talk about my childhood love of computers to introduce other children to computers as well. And I wrote the book series, and the first book in the book series is called Think Like a Computer, which follows a young girl, 7 years old, getting her computer for the first time for her birthday and trying to figure out what to do with it, and knowing that she has to think like a computer to get it to talk to her. So I'm sharing here a few of the different images because within the book, not only do I talk about my journey of computers and problem solving and things like that, but I really tie into a lot of the family aspects of me, my middle sister, my oldest sister, and my mom and my dad all being helpful and loving and triggering a lot of those different thoughts. In addition to that, I'm going to also share with you a few of the different things that have happened because of this. So when my sister passed, I was right in the middle of LEAD. So I took some time off, and during my time back, as life would have it, I took the power course as my first course coming back. I changed course instead of focusing on my career, but to focus more on my legacy and my Think Like a Computer book. And with the power class, I had to step into a lot of things. As you may can tell, I'm shaking in my boots right now, speaking with you because I'm an introvert at heart. But what the power class told me to do is to kind of just step into my power, and that's what I did. I literally created objectives every week of how will I get more kids to be interested in computer science and how can I get that messaging out. And with that, within the time in the class, I was able to book my local targets to do story times, get my books in the stores. I was featured in Forbes magazine. I've been traveling around the world. On some of the pictures you may see here, I was invited to Harlem in New York City to speak with a coding group of young girls that are interested in computer science. I was able to speak to different classrooms and just really get the messaging out and share my story with kids. So this is definitely a different crowd than I usually talk to. It's usually second graders. And then I'll share a little bit about the background of the picture. So the illustrator did a lot of soul searching and pulling out all the different things that I wanted to express visually in the book. So I share with her pictures of my family growing up. As you can see here, I'm in a yellow dress, my favorite dress. You'll probably see it a few more times. And to really capture that essence of me being an inquisitive young girl, a little bit sassy, into the character that you see in the book. You'll also see both my parents, who were my favorite illustrations in the book. My dad was a basketball coach and looked exactly like the character and is probably my favorite. And my supportive mother, who gave me the computer and introduced me to computers and just let me figure it out. My two older sisters, and me in the yellow dress, of course. My middle sister went off to be a rocket scientist, and my older sister that passed during the pandemic was an English teacher. So I talk a lot about her introductions into English and things that she liked, and actually her helping me during the pandemic, prior to her passing, helping me edit the book. So she's always been that great supportive system for me. And then I also spent a lot of time talking about my second grade teacher who introduced me to math and science and created the love that I have that I share with the world today. And then, of course, from a family aspect, my cousins. I wanted that to be a very important part of the book because I feel family is very, very important to me, and it has been a very big part of my upbringing. So I wanted to ensure that I shared that in the story so that it relates to more kids as well. And then, of course, because I had a lot of time during the pandemic, I just kept writing, and then I'm turning the book into a book series. And as of this week, the second book in this series is out, and it's called To the Moon. It's a story about me going to the science fair and using my sister's help to teach me how to code in Python to create a rover that could travel on the moon. I like to say we're going to the moon in the book, but it's actually a science fair project. And then before I let you go, I just wanted to share that not only are my lessons in power that were so beneficial to me, but one word of encouragement if anyone relates to the story or being an introvert and just pushing yourself beyond the limits. One of the things that I feel like I had to do is standing in your power can look a lot like shaking in your boots. But what you have to do is just go out there and do it and force yourself to do it. So that would be my recommendation and my words of encouragement to you. Thank you so much.